You bet.
June is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. Today, joining us is Dr. Brian Weis from Texas Tech University Health Science Center. You're going to help us better understand about the disease and just the different types of dementia and early warning signs. And so starting off, what is Alzheimer's?
Alzheimer's, so as you mentioned, it is one of a broad category of dementias. Now, many people think of Alzheimer's as a memory problem. That's kind of the early part of it, but eventually what it's due to is a buildup of abnormal protein in the brain, and eventually people lose all brain function. So it goes from memory loss to the inability to just really think about what you're doing during the day, eventually to the point where you kind of forget about eating and drinking. He said overall people live about 4 to 8 years after their diagnosis of Alzheimer's, and it progresses during that time.
And so you mentioned that Alzheimer's is a form of dementia, and so what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, so dementia is a broader category. So there's a number of different causes of dementia now. So Alzheimer's, about 60 to 80% of dementia is that we see is caused by Alzheimer's. There's also dementia related to blockages of blood vessels in the brain. There's another one called diffuse Lewy body disease, frontotemporal lobe dementia. So they're all the same in a sense of, yes, it affects memory, but what really affects what we call executive function. And executive function is what we use to navigate our day. Okay? It's things like operating simple electronics, like your cell phone or the TV remote control. People with dementia eventually lose that ability. They lose executive function.
And so what are some of the signs of Alzheimer's and dementia when the symptoms are first starting off?
Well, a lot of times it can be subtle memory loss. The interesting thing about Alzheimer's is most of the time, people who are developing that don't recognize it themselves. Because I get patients come in all the time and say, sometimes I forget people's names. I'm really worried about that. Yeah. That's usually not the problem. Okay? But with Alzheimer's, it's usually more this loss of forgetting birthdays. Okay? Suddenly losing your wallet, losing your keys all the time, to the point where you walk out of the grocery store, you can't remember where you parked your car. Or if you're driving somewhere, where am I going? Those are the kind of things we see as the dementia starts to progress.
And are there any ways that people can work to prevent Alzheimer's or dementia?
It's a healthy brain activity. So the brain is like any part of our body. We need to take care of it. And one thing is we know that the brain is kind of a use it or lose it proposition. The more you keep it active, the more healthy it is. But also preventing things that cause blood vessel problems like smoking or excessive drinking, high blood pressure, diabetes. All of those can affect the health of the brain, and by taking care of those carefully, you can hopefully keep any dementias at bay that way.
And so recently, I told you this before we started, I was reading a book, and the main character, her mom had Alzheimer's and she was taking care of her. And so in that situation where someone who is experiencing Alzheimer's, they maybe can't remember a certain event, like a loved one dying, and they're asking for help, or they're wondering where they're at. What's the best way to kind of handle those situations?
Well, again, is to try to answer the questions they have, redirect them, if you will, stuff. But please keep in mind, there's a lot of support services in this community, a lot of other communities, for the caregivers of Alzheimer's patients, because that is a challenging position to be in, is to be a caregiver. So there's all kinds of organizations here that people can contact through the Center for Aging here, stuff like that, that can help caregivers learn how to help their loved ones with these problems.
And so you just kind of talked about where we can go to find more information, but for people who are maybe experiencing Alzheimer's and dementia, can they also go to those services as well?
Oh, absolutely, yes. And so again, the internet, great idea. If you literally just put in things like Google, like Alzheimer's support groups, Amarillo, it pops up all kinds of resources.
Perfect. We appreciate you being here with us today.